Since the 1830s, Yekaterinburg, by the words of many foreign travelers and even foreign academics, became one of the most beautiful cities in the eastern part of Russia. All this happened, for sure, because of the development of classical style. Here, in the Urals, antique architecture became the basis of the classical style architecture of ancient Rome and Greece. In the middle of the 18th century, the interest in the architecture of ancient Rome and ancient Greece was reborn. It was stimulated by archaeological excavations of ancient cities such as Herculaneum and Pompeii, which were rediscovered and brought antique harmony to the world. Classicism, first of all, defined by the using of order, rules of order of subordinacy of the details between each other, and for sure, the most well-known details of order are columns. From the epoch of ancient Rome, we know a few types of orders. They appeared in ancient Greece, but were developed in Rome. They are the Doric order, more strict, Ionic, more elegant, and the decorative Corinthian. These orders and columns evolved into classicism. Typical elements of the classic order are architrave, column, stylobate, and fronton of the triangle shape. Classic style is developed by defined principles. Even Russian czars such as Catherine II, Paul, and especially Alexander, were anxious about the spreading of this style, and they worried about architects and builders who were following these rules. For this purpose, the series of albums of original projects were published. Not only front sides of the buildings, but even fences and gates were regulated by these albums. Original projects of the front sides strictly specified the dimensions of the buildings, the length, the heights of the walls, and the roof. Spaces between the buildings, but they still left some freedom for the architect to plan the interior of the house he defined by himself. There were different reasons for such a rapid, lightning-fast development of the classical style. It's the harsh changing of the tendencies in art. At the end of the 18th century, a new class began to step forward, the bourgeois. The bourgeois earned their money with the help of their own hard work, their own energy, their talent, and their courage. The bourgeois could count money, and they could spend money on such frivolous things as sculpture, and this stimulated the rejection of the Baroque period. In 1780, the merchants of St. Petersburg, who had to finance the construction of the big guest hall, didn't accept the project that was proposed by Rastrelli. The building, in the Baroque style, seemed to them overpriced and a waste of money. After 1 year, they published a statement about the change of the style from Baroque to classical. There was one more reason Peter III published the decree about the liberties of the bourgeois. Bourgeois didn't have to stay in the Tsar's court, and from that time, they could seclude themselves at their estates. They had to build new houses, and exactly at this time, classical architecture was developing. Although in the whole Russian territory, classical architecture developed because of the bourgeois. They had built their new houses on their estates. Here, in Yekaterinburg, it all differs so much. There were no bourgeois, or if there was only a handful, and there were no estates. But there were manufacturers, merchants, and all of these merchants were old believers. They started to develop their trading and industry as the gold rush began in Berezovsky, near Lake Chartash, where gold was found, and the founders of the gold mines, the gold miners, and the people who organized the gold mines also became old believers. And because of that, there was extensive development of a merchant's village. It was all built in 30 to 40 years. And at this time, classical architecture flourished in the Urals.